Welcome to Startup Passport by Econsulate. We are here at the AI Asia Summit organized by SLASSCOM Sri Lanka. Today we have Mr. Jesse Arlen Smith. Jesse, thank you very much for being here.
Great to be here.
Jesse is the regional business development lead for APAC in data and AI at Crayon. And we'd love to know a little bit more about what you do at Crayon and how your role is, built around the data and AI at
Sure.
Crayon.
First, thanks for inviting me to the podcast. It's always nice to speak to an audience of engaged entrepreneurs, startups. We at Crayon we enjoy working with startups as well. My role as regional business development lead for data and AI across APAC is to build up the practice in various markets. So we have 12 different countries that I work with, including being here with Sri Lanka today. Wonderful summit that we had. It was a lot of fun to speak about different topics, hear some of the engaging conversations. I was happy to speak about agriculture today. My role is basically about engaging and sales enablement for all of Crayon's data and AI. So I support the different teams, like our team here in Sri Lanka, to be able to bring AI solutions to our customers. So Crayon's a big company. You maybe have heard of them, maybe you haven't. We do software asset management, we do licensing. We've well-known partners of Microsoft. But what I do is data and AI. So our data and AI practice is not new, but we're getting a lot more attention and recognition globally these days. So we've actually been doing data and AI for over 10 years. So we've been doing this a while. So, I know everyone has, been in the last couple of years really hyped up about things like generative AI, getting ChatGPT in their phones. But we've actually been doing things like language technologies, foundational models for 10 years, natural language processing, natural language generation. So we actually have a very strong practice, and we've built our practice around specific types of technologies, you could say. And so these technologies are computer vision, data platforms, language technologies, and data analytics decision support. Okay, so when we are trying to find a client to work with, we have a couple different ways that we can do it. One of the ways is that what is the problem? What are we actually trying to solve, right? And there's a lot. We heard this today in the summit. There's a lot of talk around POCs, building the next new shiny toy. And at Crayon, we don't do that. What we do is we take a consultation approach to try and find out, what would move the needle. So what would provide business value, right? And then we take a look at the technological, requirements of that. And that could be, do you have the data? Largely speaking, when you're deploying AI, it's about, do you have the data? Where is that data? Is it structured or is it unstructured? Are you still writing receipts out by hand, putting invoices by hand, or are they digitized, for example? Are they sitting within an Oracle database, or are they sitting in a blob storage bucket on AWS or Azure, right? So these are all different questions that we would need to find out. But ultimately, it comes down to finding the right business value and the right problem to solve. And I'll start by saying, not all problems are technology problems.
Yeah.
Not all problems are AI problems, right? I always say the best solution is the one that can be implemented. And so that isn't necessarily AI in all cases, right? You don't just add AI to something because it's, trendy. And I think that one of my, biggest tasks as a regional business development lead for data and AI is helping my clients find that trust. And that can mean a few different things. So one of it is the trust in my decision making, right? Like, am I going to make the right decision? Or maybe they got burnt when they did robotic process automation, or they went with the wrong vendor, or someone oversold their capabilities as a vendor. So I think that's one of the main things that I like to come in with, is understanding, how could I instill that trust or give that knowledge about, what the technologies can and cannot do? And then how can, I help my clients understand, what is the trust that they need in terms of the vendor that they want to work with, or the type of technologies. And you want to build a stack that's going to be future proof.
Yeah.
And in order to make a stack future-proof, you got to have a beeline to what's going to come. And they don't necessarily know that. We barely knew that. I mean, we as technologists thought that computer vision was going to be the next biggest thing that would help us understand the context of our world. Turns out it was large language models, for example. So even as technologists, we don't always get it right. So my job is to help build that trust into my relationship with the clients, help them go along that journey, help them figure out where they are on that journey. So maybe they have they're low on the data adoption or digital transformation journey. So how can we help get them to where they need to be? And so that's the consultation approach. We also have been doing this a long time. So we have accelerators as well. And what's an accelerator? I'm pretty sure you might ask that.
Is incubator plus like you're taking your startup to the next level in terms of achieving business results.
Yeah, so in the startup world, that's exactly what it would be, like something that helps you get there faster, right? And in the AI world, it's because we've done it previously. Now, when you do machine learning, you don't know if it's going to give you the result that you want, right? Or that you expect. That's part of the experimental process. You have ground truth, you have training data, you have validation data, and then what you do is you tune that model, you fine tune that model, you train it, you put it on a new set of data to see what the accuracy is. Right? You don't know what it's going to be, and then given the result, you go back and you either change it, you fine tune it, you adjust for model drift, all these other different pre-processing or sometimes post-processing that we do to the model to get it to give you what you want. Right. So this is a process that we go through in order to try and get the result that we're looking for. Right. And we don't always know what it's going to be. And that's part of the process that we go through when it comes to understanding our clients' needs and building it. So an accelerator will help you get through that process faster because we've already built that same solution, whether it be in the same industry or in a similar industry, but we've done it before. And so we can use not necessarily the data that was used to train that, if it's a proprietary data from a customer, but we use the process. We have that IP already exists. Document intelligence is a great example. So we're deploying large language models that don't require big training data sets, because that's what GPT stands for, generative pre-trained transformer. So that pre-trained element means that we don't have to feed it tons and tons of data to train the original model. We just have to control that model. And when we control that model, that's things like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, or we can do fine tuning, prompt engineering, and all of that allows us to get into the value, the ROI faster, right? Because we don't need to train large amounts of data. We don't need to structure large amounts of data. And so the accelerators are designed specifically to give business value quicker. And we have accelerators in things like Ask Your Data. So that's a human-like chat where we can, ask real, questions in natural language to your actual data sources. And I think we all need that. It's like, how many times have you searched for something, you've been looking for that and you can't find it, or you want answers to a question, I'm phoning, someone in a different department to try and find the answer when it's actually in the data, if I could just speak to it in a human-like manner. So that's Ask Your Data. And then we have document intelligence, and around document intelligence, things like contract generation, invoice processing, the automation and understanding of semantic invoices, and anything around decision support with using documents. So that's using single document sources. We can also add multiple sources as well to be able to pull out some insights that are important. So these are generally what we do in terms of accelerators. So consultancy approach, accelerator approach, and there's various degrees of engagement models within there.
Right. I think I'm gonna take a gist of what you mentioned during your 10 years span that you've been working on AI at Crayon, plus the accelerator model that you've just mentioned. With a mix of both of that, could you explain a bit about, when you identify that a customer to have a real business problem, but then one of the things that we've seen in the past, because of the hike in the overhype in GPT, they're trying to bring basically adapt a solution that is out there, or build something that is completely new, that could even be outdated within about a month or 2 months time. How do you address this problem, especially with your accelerator approach plus the consultation approach?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, Crayon's been doing data and AI for 10 years. I've been doing data and AI longer, but been with Crayon 3. Just to put that out there, if there's fact checkers. So the question is about future proofing, basically, right? Yeah. So I think that we're seeing, and specifically you asked about generative AI. So in generative AI, things are changing quickly. So at first we have the GPT, version 1, then we have 2, now we're up to 4.0, and each one is new level of parameters. Now we're up to billions of parameters, and that's just the OpenAI ecosystem. I mean, you go to AWS Bedrock, and you have Minstrel, you got Titan, you got all of these other models, Llama, which is open source out of Facebook. I mean, each of these models are. It's kind of like, the way I look at it is, are you a photographer?
No, but I've done some.
Okay, so my father's a photographer. I like to shoot photos, and he's a Nikon guy. I got a Fuji, and my brother-in-law's Canon. Right? We all like to shoot photos, but which camera is the best?
Oh, it's just the person who has a better eye.
No, there's technical requirement. Like each year, Canon's got the better camera. Like, cause you can measure camera quality is what I'm trying to say. So it's like the number of pixels that you have. You can measure the features in there. There's ways. I'm just saying, like, this is not just who feels like you like. There is that aspect as well. The subjectivity of, I like the warm picture versus the cold and all that stuff. But what I'm trying to say is there's actual quantitative specs, and one year Canon brings out the best, next year Nikon brings out the best, and then Fuji brings out something and then the next one will have it. And it's kind of like that with large language models. Right. And so when you're building the architecture, because that's what we call it, right? So it's actually the architecture that you need to build for these systems. And it's really important that you know the difference between a POC research project in a sandbox environment and a enterprise grade solution architecture at scale. Those are totally different things. And so the architecture at scale needs to take into security, needs to the input sources, the CDCI pipelines. It needs to take into consideration a lot more latency, right? The cost, the total cost, so the efficiency of the model. Now, all of that can be adjusted with the right architecture if new models come out, if new things come out. So generally speaking, our clients are looking for solved problems because it's lower risk, right? So there's certain tasks that have reached human level intelligence, like, let's take summarization. Okay, so summarization has reached human level intelligence. It doesn't matter if a new model comes out, because it's already better than what humans can do for that particular task. So we build the architecture, one, so it's swappability, so we can change the model if needed, right? And two, if there is a better model that comes out, what does that mean for the cost of running that? Usually, right, when the new iPhone comes out, what happens to the price of the old? It gets cheaper, right? So generally speaking, if we choose the right use case, within the context of a solved problem which is a lower risk, then we when a new model comes out, we can swap it with the higher one if needed. If it's not needed, we can use the older models, and the older models are going to do 100% of the job that they always had been, just at a fraction of the cost. And we're seeing a drop in the consumption cost for the older models when the new one comes out. Plus, we're also seeing a shift in the actual model deployment. So before it was we just throw the best model at everything because that was what everyone wanted, right? They want the one with the most parameters, they want the one that does the most, but that is not actually what you want to do from an efficiency point of view. Right. So now we're seeing a throwback to actually customized fundamental models that are trained on specific data sets that are hyper good at doing a specific job. And when they're hyper good at doing that specific job, that's the model that you actually want to do that job, right? It's everyone wants to shoot for the idea of general artificial intelligence, this one system that can do everything. But actually, from a business deployment perspective, it's much better to have a model that like just does that one thing really, really well, and then you can stack those models together. You can build them into a larger architecture. There's lots you can do, but we're not at general artificial intelligence. So from a deployment perspective today, what you want is a specific model that can do that job really well. So build it right, build it so it's scalable, build it so you can with the future line sight in mind, and choose the right use case.
Right. Thank you. And I'm afraid that's all the time that we have, but we've probably covered like everything from the adaptation point of view, like how best we could adapt the new technologies, and then how to future proof as much as we could, and then which model to use and what are the cheapest options, and how Crayon helps people to understand what's the best to do at each point. I think that's what every business leader needs to understand when adapting to their business needs. Thank you very much, Jesse. Thanks for taking part at Startup Passport.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.